PCVR has been at a standstill for a number of years now. Valve still hasn't released the Index 2, Meta can kind of care less about the space, and Pico never was able to get their products sold in the US. That leaves us with HTC, who has done absolutely nothing. So then what's this? And why is it so exciting? Is it the 5K resolution, built-in eye tracking, or the fact that it actually has direct DisplayPort capability along with standalone VR? And if the specs on paper are to be believed, I believe this is the headset that will dethrone my Index for my regular use and as my recommendation. So let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. My name is Wolfie. You're watching GreaterThanPie, and today we're taking a look at the Vive Focus Vision, not to be confused with the Apple Vision Pro or the Vive Focus. Similar names, a lot of the same features, but not quite the same. Though the Apple Vision Pro might be a more apt comparison than you would initially think, especially because the Vive Focus really wasn't a consumer product. So having a new version come out that is now more consumer focused is kind of an interesting move by HTC. Now I'm really excited because I do really think that this is an upgrade to the Valve Index. The resolution is higher, the refresh rates are about a little bit slower, but within a normal spec. But before all that, we just need to get into this box, which HTC has stealthily, with a cardboard colored sticker, not to shirt the box, hid. Okay, that's cool. I'm always a fan of presentation. So we're gonna flip the box around so you can see from both top down and from the side view. Pretty eco-friendly packaging. It's like all cardboard. I'm kind of digging that. Right over here, we got our wall charger, microfiber cloth. Good to have. This is a pretty nice looking wall charger. Everything's wrapped in paper, not plastic. And that is a barrel jack. And this is a USB-C to dual USB-C? Not sure what this is. Maybe for charging the controllers? That would make sense. Pretty nifty solution if that's the case. These are our controllers. I guess why don't we start there with these? These are HTC's version of the ring-tracked controllers. They feel nice in the hand. Very good job with that, guys. They are pretty light, but very, very grippy. Very good for some beat sabering, but there's actually some tactical feedback on the grip button. The actual center click feels pretty good. There's ridges all over the place. I'll show you guys in the B-roll, but it's pretty nice. There's a sticker right here to indicate left and right. The triggers themselves feel, they're a little loose, but then they do have like a tactical bump at the end. And the face buttons are a little mushy. They are rechargeable. So we got left and we got right. They look pretty nice. These do have your standard array of gyroscopes and inside out tracking, which is one of the cool things about this headset is it's no base stations. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on how this is actually an interesting platform, I should say. Now we have the headset. Wow, that's light. I didn't expect it to be this light. All right. I can tell her battery's not in her because this is her battery. First impressions are already pretty darn good. So in the front here, we have our 4 tracking cameras on 4 corners. And then these 2 in the center are actually full colored, high quality pass-through cameras. So this is how I said it is kind of related to the Apple Vision Pro. That's what's going to cause that effect to happen. You can also see that we got a vent and a heat sink in here because there is active cooling on this headset, which is interesting because no headset that's been running this processor before has active cooling. This is using the old generation of the Snapdragon XR2, the same processor you can find in the Meta Quest 2 and not the Meta Quest 3. Now, kind of flipping around so you guys can see into here, we got a very premium, removable, magnetically removable gasket. It feels like this kind of like leather material. What's really cool here is we have very, very, very high resolution LCD screens in here. The resolution per eye is 2448 by 2448. So it's a square screen. And the IPD is actually automatically adjusting to make sure that your eyes are the correct distance to view it as clearly as possible, which is kind of crazy. So it's got automatic IPD adjustment. It's got eye tracking built in. You can actually see some of the cameras in there and sensors. Those are going to actually lock onto your eyes and follow them. So you can use things like foveatic rendering, and it can do eye tracking for applications such as VR chat. We also have a plethora of little cool features, such as the actual sound system, which are dual driver in each side, and then they have a slight open back to them. So I'm curious to see how that actually works and if they're similar to actual open back headphones. You do have a headphone jack on here that if you wanted to, you could actually put in your own headphones. And the way that their earpieces are positioned, you're not going to actually have to remove anything in order to get them to work, which is great. It's actually kind of a carryover from the Quest of all things. There's a USB-C port right here. I believe this one's for charging, and then there's a hidden one right there, and that is for the face tracker, which is sold separately. Also in the front, some really useful things that's major improvements over when I had a Quest. There's an IR and a depth sensor built into the front of this headset as well, along with dual microphones, one being for noise canceling purposes. Let's just say this thing's got a lot of really cool tech, and it's actually not that heavy, which is really interesting. Now, one of the coolest features that this device has is it actually has a hot swappable battery. This is the battery, and you'll notice that the battery can be easily removed. Maybe not from the cardboard box that it's in, but it can be easily removed from the headset. This is because you can actually charge these batteries completely separately. They sell a charging dock that allows you to do just that. But while the headset is running, you have a couple seconds to do it. You can remove this battery and install a new one. Just snaps into place. Okay, that was pretty easy. And then we just put that's just held on by magnets. Oh, and we can check our battery from the outside. Very sensibly designed. I love this so much. And there's the barrel jack to charge the battery. Okay, so then what's this USB-C port on the side for? Is this for outputting audio? Does this thing have dual USB-Cs? Oh no, I know what this is for. It's in this box. This is actually kind of important. I think you can charge through there though, so we'll talk about that in a second. But if you wanted to charge using the base kit, there is a port right there that allows you to charge the whole headset using that. Our head strap is adjustable in a pretty standard way. It has this really cool quick release feature where if you hold down this button back here, you can actually just, boom, pop yourself out of the headset. Velcro strap, which typically what you would do is you'd adjust this piece to your head first, and then you'd adjust the Velcro strap. Very cool. And you do have a little bit of a pop-up back and forth for more head adjustment, but also for easy removal of the headset when you need to kind of just poke your head out. I have to say, there's a lot of tech in here for what honestly feels like with the battery in it, not that much heavier than my index, if at all. We'll have to see how it feels on the head, but so far I'm kind of liking it. Now we do have an extra thing here today. We got this, the Vive wired stream cable, and this is one of the things I'm actually very, very excited for. This headset actually has full DisplayPort over USB-C. Unfortunately, at the time of recording and at the time of you watching this video, you cannot pick up the kit that has this included. This was provided as sort of an early adopter bonus for it. Right now it's $149 for this kit. So to convert it to a PCVR headset, it's an extra $149. But what's included should be everything you could possibly need to really make this thing pop off as its own DisplayPort compatible VR headset. It includes DisplayPort to USB-C. We've got this, which is a more traditional brick right here for breaking out into USB and DisplayPort. Looks like a pretty standard charging adapter. Whatever kind of connector this is. This is a weird connector. But it also comes with, you probably are looking at this going, this is not going to reach my play space. This probably will. This is a 5-meter USB-C to USB-C cable. Oh, this is pretty big. I measured out 5 meters to my play space and was like, oh yeah, no, this is pretty big. This side obviously connects to your headset, and It has a picture of a headset on it, which is actually kind of cool. And I've seen renders, you're supposed to connect it upside down, like so, and then cable manage it using probably these to relieve the strain. We're gonna have to take a look at all of that and try all of that out. But for now, I think what I need to do is I need to get this set up, get in there, and give you my first impressions on how it looks and feels. Well, guys, this one's interesting, and there's a lot to talk about here. Let's just say this headset's a bit of a mixed bag right now, and I think some of it will be corrected by HTC in the near future. But for now, we are definitely dealing with some beta bugginess that is quite annoying. So let's start with the best thing out of everything I've tested on this headset. The screens are phenomenal. With the automatic IPD adjustment plus the high resolution screens, this is probably the clearest headset I've ever put my head through. It is so good looking. There is like almost no edge fringing unless it's actually a texture issue, and a 5K resolution is impressive. And surprisingly easier to run than I thought. My PC was able to handle the 5K output on this display pretty easily at a pretty consistent 90 Hertz, which means that at least a 4080 Super can run it pretty well. It actually seemed to run better than my Valve Index at times, but I think that has something to do with some wonkiness that happens with OpenVR, where it doesn't fully utilize the GPU. And it's something that I've documented even on AMD GPUs. And the fact that this works as well as it does when it's working is great. We didn't get too much time with the onboard chip because, believe it or not, Viveport is actually set up in a way that it sells you both PC and non-PC games at the same time, and the PC games are actually through Steam. So almost all of your PC connectivity is going to be through the same Steam VR ecosystem that you're used to using, which is kind of great. And when you actually set this thing to run in PC VR mode, there's a little pop-up that pops up inside the headset. You press one button, Steam VR launches on your PC and takes right over. And the headset utilizes the full resolution of the screens through DisplayPort, and it works really well. It was very stable. I didn't seem to have too many issues while the game was running, but when a game was launching, that's another story. I had way more crashes than expected. I kind of knew that we would have some of them because there's a little beta icon next to the streaming software that is used to run through the DisplayPort cable. But what I didn't expect is that on one of the nights that we tested, launching Beat Saber would actually crash so frequently that the one time I got it to launch, it did not go to the Steam VR home first. And when it crashes, you have to re-enable the plugins in Steam, disconnect the headset, reconnect the headset, re-enable the Vive streaming, which fortunately is a single button, which will then relaunch Steam, which will then allow you to use your headset in an application. But you can't get the application ready first. You have to make sure that you do it in that order because it will not take over otherwise. I do honestly think, though, that HTC will fix that. And there's also another thing that if they're fixing that, I would like them to fix, and that is their connectivity to non-inside out tracked devices. Now, I understand that Meta has absolutely no interest in making sure that you can use your Vive trackers, but Vive by HTC should have extra compatibility built in to work with the other Vive trackers, especially if somebody's got the base station 2.0s, which, if I'm not mistaken, are also made by HTC. So there's literally no reason for them not to work. And what's actually frustrating about that is I looked up a video about the Vive Tracker 2.0s, and they have the ability to work with PC VR headsets through a place-based calibrator, which you can technically do to get your knuckles or your Vive trackers connected to this headset, but it's a third-party application. You can either use PC VR Open Place-Based Calibrator, or Natural Locomotion also has a place-based calibrator built into it. But the point is, you can use that option right there to get your full-body tracking going, or you could shell out the $200 a tracker for the Vive Tracker Ultimates, and then they'll be like native. So overall, that's kind of an annoyance more than anything. And I do think that HTC, you guys can build your place-based calibrators into the same application. If you can get that working, that might actually alleviate some of the frustrations I have with your controllers, which we're about to talk about now. So the controllers themselves feel fine. They're good. They're about the same quality as the Meta Quest 2 controllers, but they feel like a downgrade to the Knuckles controllers. And that's in both tracking quality and the fact that they don't have finger tracking. Now, I thought that maybe your hand tracking would sort of circumvent the need for having the actual controllers with the hand tracking. And unfortunately, it's not the case. HTC's hand tracking doesn't seem to really have as wide of a range as I would hope. It's very narrow. It's like right here. This is where the hand tracking is. Like it's super, super close to the face, and it doesn't look right in PC VR applications. Now, there is sort of some pseudo ways around it, such as using Vive trackers on your hands to get more natural motion. But again, it doesn't feel right, and it has the same drawbacks that the Quest would have of having blind spots. So your character can't really stand in a natural pose, despite this being a device that's actually advertised very heavily for VR chat. And while I don't have exact data on it, I do think that Vive Tracker Ultimates might be able to help with some of the tracking blind spots. But again, that is something that I'm going to have to test independently because Vive's not really making that claim. Their claim is that it adds additional tracking points for higher fidelity tracking. It's their wording, not mine. How that works, it could just be that it creates a more detailed skeleton and is able to assume better and have better calculation. Or the Vive trackers are able to see the controllers and can tell the headset where the controllers are. Two ways that that could work. And I do think that the Vive Focus Vision will be able to surpass the Index just based off of facial tracking and eye tracking alone, which, footnote, eye tracking was easy to set up. And yeah, it works in VR chat just like that. I didn't have to do anything. It was pretty cool. Having those might actually surpass having hand tracking, but in an ideal world, you would have the option to do both. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, I think that this is a really cool headset. It has got a lot of tech. It has got a lot of potential. I have to test it way more thoroughly than I tested the Index or the Quest before this because there's so much I haven't even tried yet. I still have to get the Vive Tracker Ultimates and I still need to get a face tracker. And I'm going to test it in more standalone applications and really see if I can get to the real meat of this headset. I think that once the beta issues are fixed, this headset's going to be an easy recommendation, especially if you don't already have a pre-existing PC VR headset. So overall, I think that it's a really good headset with a lot of potential that is just unfortunately now being hindered by software. So HTC, fix that up. And hopefully by the time we're doing the full review, I'm not talking about applications crashing. And if I am talking about applications crashing, I've got a fix video on how to actually fix it because that's kind of what we do on this channel. So if you are not subscribed, get subscribed because we're definitely gonna have the Vive Tracker Ultimate video. We're gonna have the review of this. And if there are any bugs along the way that I can fix myself, you know that we're gonna have a video on that. So I'll see you in the next one. Wolfie out.